Hi, this is Stephanie Miller from The Stephanie Miller Show. Please enjoy this exclusive clip from my show on Political Voices Network. Frank, I don't even know where to start with your reaction to this latest indictment. I think you were tweeting too about, you said, a sad but necessary step in proactively protecting our elected lawmakers, U.S. Capitol Police to open Texas office in response to rising threats. I mean, the fact they had to, monitor terrorist chatter for, one nearly 80-year-old crook to get booked yesterday is just a sad state of affairs, isn't it?
Yeah, we're in a place that I'm not sure we've ever been since the Civil War, to be honest with you. And we didn't have social media during the Civil War, so people were still largely clueless, and threats were not what we have today. Yeah, when you see the U.S. Capitol Police having to open field offices throughout the United States to protect elected officials from the growing threat, record numbers of threats against elected officials, it's crazy time. And look, it's not going to get much better, Stephanie. We've got a former president leading in the polls, at least for the Republicans, who's going to go to trial.
Yeah. I mean, I am more and more confident, Frank, are you, that he is going to go to trial, that his lifetime of delay tactics are going to run out in front of Judge Chutkan, I think. What do you think?
Yeah, look, there's a strong judge there. I will say this, a couple of things. Yes, this case, the election case, is far more straightforward than the documents Mar-a-Lago case. And don't forget, in that case, you have now 3 defendants down in Florida. That complicates things greatly, not to mention reams of classified documents and all of that goes with that. This one is fairly simple, and it's by design. One defendant, get him through the system. You lied, you defrauded the American people. Here's the evidence. Let's go. And on August 28th, that's what Jack Smith's people are going to tell Judge Chutkan. We're ready. We're going to dump all of the discovery on the defense. We're going to back up a truck, so to speak, electronically, and we're going to give them.
And by the way, they were given 3 options, 3 dates. That was the latest one, August 28th. But that's it. I mean, there's, I thought it was, and I was going to say, if his lawyers can be any more helpful and keep going on TV and admitting to things that he's already pled not guilty to. Television. I don't know. Go ahead.
Here's something really cool about that, which for the legal nerds out there. So you've got this lawyer, Lauro, right?
Yeah.
Who's now all over television, which clearly signals, by the way, that this is not about a solid legal defense of Trump. It's about a public perception campaign that's going to go on here. So, okay, that's it. But in his statements yesterday, he absolutely admitted publicly what his client is accused of doing criminally. He said, we did this. The problem with that is that he becomes a fact witness in the trial, and Jack Smith could easily file a motion saying, hey, this lawyer is a fact witness. I'm going to be calling him on the stand. He's got to recuse himself. It's a complete circus already.
Yeah. And I loved that he basically kind of said, like, we did the thing, asked them to delay but there were no tanks.
Right.
I was like, so we didn't send in the tanks. So
It could be worse.
I mean, you tweeted, Frank, you said we came perilously close to seeing boots on the ground. They were fine with it. They were ready for it, and the president was ready to use it as leverage against Pence and others. I wanted to run another tweet past you along those lines. Lindy Lee tweets, Pelosi begged the National Guard to defend the Capitol. Trump's acting defense secretary, Chris Miller, denied her request 14 times. Mike Flynn's brother, Charles, delayed the National Guard for 3 hours and then lied about it. They wanted America to fall. Don't let them rewrite history now. It feels to me, you tell me, you're the expert, there's a lot more shoes or military boots to drop in this indictment.
Yeah, I've said this on the air on MSNBC. This is not over. And remember the final parting words of Jack Smith in his very brief press conference. This investigation continues.
Yeah.
That's really important. He didn't say this ends the investigative phase of this matter. Yeah. This investigation continues. So yes, I think there's more coming here, certainly for the 6 co-defendants who have to have a very hard decision right now. Am I going to play ball? Or am I going down with this guy? So that's coming soon to a theater near you.
You tweeted. You
I'm sorry?
tweeted why the 6 co-conspirators in the Trump indictment can't escape through making a deal with the DOJ. Can you explain what you meant by that?
Yeah, Jack Smith, sure. Jack Smith would not have brought this kind of indictment with all of this detailed evidence against the former president if he didn't feel 100% confident he's got the case against Trump. So what does that mean for the 6 co-defendants? They're it's too early. Superfluous, right? They're not needed. So look, you can play, and it will make my case stronger. But I've got goods on you too, or I wouldn't have put you in here.
Yeah.
In fact, as I read through the indictment, yes, it's damning against Trump, but I have to tell you, it is extremely damning against 6 co-defendants, 2 of whom were just A-OK with violence in the streets and the Insurrection Act. So they're doomed. They're doomed.
By the way, don't worry about pronunciation. I just got Figliuzzi like a second ago.
Almost.
Frank, okay, I know there's no almost explanation really for a lot of this stuff, why his lawyer would go on TV and admit to a crime he already pled not guilty to, but why is Rudy Giuliani opening his yap on TV, speaking of the 6 co-conspirators? I mean, you heard Michael Cohen, we just played that he thinks Rudy's already flipped, but then what is he doing? I don't get any of this, what these people are doing.
Yeah, it's because we're trying to look at this through legal reasoning and logic, and we've got to stop doing that and see it for what it is, which is a guy leading in the polls who wants to be the president so he can pardon himself and pardon Rudy. And that's what Rudy's thinking when he goes on TV and he slams things on a desk and screams and yells as he tries to oxidize the alcohol he consumed last night. And look, that's what this is about. So it's not, we have a guy who was the U.S. attorney in the Southern District of New York. He was an assistant attorney general of the United States. He knows you shouldn't be going on television when you're facing federal charges. He's doing it anyway. Why? It's the court of public opinion. I stay close to Trump and I get pardoned if he wins.
I guess that's their whole, but man, that I would say is quite the Hail Mary. And I don't know what, you saw, here, give us 9. I want to get his response to this as well. Michael Cohen yesterday.
For example, you don't see any mention of Mark Meadows. You see nothing of Jared Kushner. Jared Kushner was the secretary of everything. How is it possible that he is not listed here? He was there. He was on Donald's lap the entire time from the day Donald entered the White House to the day that he left.
So how do you explain it?
I believe he's probably a cooperating witness.
Wow.
You're a G-man. Do you smell I mean, obviously, that does seem to be... I don't know about Jared. I don't know about Mark Meadows, about Rudy, but, within a reasonable time frame, I guess we're going to know, aren't we?
We are. And I'll tell you, one of the great... I'll talk about, these traditional ways I determine whether there's cooperators, and then we'll talk about the non-traditional. The traditional way is, having read this thing twice now, this indictment, it's clear to me that the level of detail, the recounting of conversations between 2 people indicates that multiple people are cooperating. So that is a given. There's too much detail in here. And usually, in an FBI case where you're dealing with corruption like this, you've got informants, you've got wiretaps, you've got undercover agents. There's no undercover agent or wiretap in this thing. So that means you've got informants, without a doubt.
Yeah.
Now, so that's the logical way to look at it. What's the way with Trump that we're going to find out there's cooperators? So as soon as the full discovery dump is given to his defense team, and they start looking through witness statements, which, as we speak, could literally be happening, you're going to see true social postings like you've never seen before, attacking people he now knows are cooperating. And that's how we'll go, yep, that guy's cooperating, because Trump just called him a moron.
What, the judge yesterday specifically said, do not tamper with jurors. I mean, but what about witnesses, the judge, the prosecutor, like he's always does? I mean, what happens? I mean, go ahead.
It's a real, from a security perspective, this is really one of the things that bothers me the most. I get interviewed a lot about, oh my God, are the angry mobs going to show up? Are we going to have another January 6th? And all the prep has to be done for that, sure. But the threat to witnesses and prosecutors and jurors,
Yeah.
not to mention the judge, is going to be sky high. And the security planning has got to account for those people. And even as people have to make hard decisions, and apparently already have, about whether they're cooperating or not, I'm sure that they've sat down with their family and said, hey, I am going to cooperate, and we are going to live through hell. And I'm sure that was a factor in deciding to cooperate or not.
Yeah. So Trump yesterday, was this a troth? I don't know. He said, I feel badly for Mike Pence, who's attracting no crowds, no enthusiasm or loyalty from people who, as a member of the Trump administration, should be loving him. Hang on, here's the part. He didn't fight against election fraud, which we will now easily be able to prove based on the most recent fake indictment and information, which will have to be made available to us finally. A really big deal. The VP had power that Mike didn't understand, but after the election, the rhinos and Dems changed the law, taking that power away. Okay, so it goes without saying that all that is a bunch of bull. But, I mean, I don't know legally. He's doubling and tripling down on that there was election fraud. What? Now we're going to finally, this information will be made available. Really? Information that wasn't available when you were, say, president of the United States? I mean,
right. I hope he goes there. I hope a DC jury gets to hear this nonsense and go, my God, this guy's insane. Speaking of Pence, yeah. I have to tell you, having digested the indictment and being asked 100 times on television, what strikes you the most, and having different answers, my initial answer was, my God, there's a lot of acceptability of violence in this thing. That just jumps out at me, the insurrection.
Yeah.
But I've changed my mind on what really needs to get culled out of it, and it's Pence being told by Trump, 3 words.
You're too honest.
You're too honest. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm telling you something. Because why is that so big? It absolutely shows us the mindset of Donald Trump.
Yeah.
I know I'm breaking the law, and I need a dishonest person to do it with me.
And Frank, I keep maintaining Pence gets too much credit. He did the right thing on one day because he had no choice. He called Dan Quayle first to see if he could not do the right thing, and then at the last minute. And also, he didn't testify to January 6th. He hasn't stepped forward. It's only because he has to. And by the way, why didn't he call the FBI? When, all of these people now that are speaking out that knew all this coup was underway did not call the FBI.
All of these people in these horrid discussions about breaking the law, the alternate slates of electors in 7 states doing bad things, nobody picks up the phone and calls the FBI, right?
Yeah.
And that's the environment we're in. With regard to Pence being kind of a two-faced charlatan, look, he waited. He waited for the indictment. He read the indictment, and then his campaign staffer said, now it's time. Now it's time to come out.
Now a warning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, he is who he is, but I got to tell you, he's going to be one of the star witnesses.
Yeah.
And along likely with Mark Meadows.
Yeah. Boy. Okay, the question before you go, never thought we'd have to ask these questions, but so George is up next. Looks like Monday might be indictment day again, maybe Tuesday. And so, we've always said this seems like the strongest case. He's on tape, right. So what happens if he is convicted on a state level, which he cannot be pardoned, but he is elected president? Yeah. Does he serve as president while he's in state prison?
You're asking, of course, we're in totally uncharted territory here.
Yes.
So you're asking kind of a question that really no one knows the answer to. I know I've been researching the question of whether a Georgia governor can pardon him, and the answer is not really. No, that power is not really with the Georgia governor, number one. Number two, we do know you absolutely could serve as president of the United States sitting in prison, but we've never been there before, but we know there's no rule against it. We do know that no president can pardon you for a state crime, and as confusing as our legal system seems to be to people who aren't American, who look at us and they ask me all the time, what the hell with all these legal systems? And and I go, isn't it beautiful? Because it's states' rights, man.
That's
right.
The
state can actually indict a president. But the legal battle you're going to see ensue will be like none other. They're going to move. Trump is going to move to get this moved to federal court. And by the way, that's a legit argument. Hey, you're coming after me. I was the president. We got to do this in federal court. He's going to lose that argument.
Yeah.
We're in for a withering period of time. Meanwhile, Fonnie Willis is getting really ugly, racist threats to her life.
I know.
And it's not going to get
Well,
any
you
better.
must. I was going to say quick. We're long as always with you because I love talking to you so much. But I have to say you have to be somewhat heartened as a former FBI guy that a lot of this is fizzled. This whole him thinking the whole country's going to rise up and I'm doing this for you. I mean, there's these few lunatics outside these courthouses. Are you? Yeah, go ahead.
So there's no question that over 1,000 arrests for the violence on January 6th now have absolutely had a chilling effect. I'm not saying that there's not going to be lone actors. I'm not saying Marjorie Taylor Greene isn't going to bring busloads of people from her district, 65 miles north of Atlanta, down to Fulton County when this happens. I'm just saying that 1,000 arrests has Proud Boys and Oath Keepers in private chat rooms telling each other, I'm not getting arrested.
Yeah. Or as Jim Jordan calls them, hillbillies. He just called MAGA crowd hillbillies.